We begin with the violent protests outside a school board meeting in Glendale, California, when masked activists clashed with parents opposed to how the district is teaching gender and sexuality.
Hold up.
Whoa. Now, the school board meeting was about making June Pride Month, which board members unanimously approved late in the evening. And as the brawl unraveled, several parents raised concerns about the school's transgender policies and that their children were being introduced to subject matters that they simply were not ready for.
They need to stop asking little children what they sexually identify as. Children are not sexual beings, nor should they be. The sexualization of children is pedophilia. Nothing more, nothing less.
Teaching a 6-year-old about sexuality, I mean, this should be common sense. But if you feel similar to those parents and you want to say in your child's education, you might get put on a hate group list. The far-left Southern Poverty Law Center has added multiple parents' rights organizations, labeling them as hate and anti-government groups akin to neo-Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan. One parent said, "My daughter is afraid to change in the locker room because she knows another guy could come into the room. When I asked the principal, he told me there were no cross-gender bathroom policies." Another Daily Signal excerpt on this. Additional documents revealed that Glendale staff have attempted to incorporate LGBTQ plus materials and ideology into curriculum. One assistant principal even told staff to teach children that every person is by default queer and socialist.
I'm currently aging at 0.76. For every 365 days a year, I age 277. So I basically get like October, November, December for free. And then for the months I do age, then the progress is to reverse that aging that has happened so that I can be the same biological age. But we don't know our speed of aging. Like, how fast are you aging in this moment? And if you had aging points, like your bank account, would you spend them a certain way?
That was Brian Johnson. He's 45 years old, but he really wants to achieve a biological body of 18 years old. Is it possible to stop aging or reverse aging?
I think the most important message I want people to come away with tonight is that this isn't science fiction, that it can sound like science fiction. But if we look around the animal kingdom, there are animals whose risk of death doesn't change no matter how old they are. There are animals like tortoises, certain kinds of fish, certain kinds of lizards like salamanders. These are capable of living, but they apparently don't get old. They can literally get older without getting old. And so I think there's no reason biologically, according to the laws of physics, why we couldn't apply the same to humans too.
When I was a PhD student at University of California, San Francisco, one of my favorite professors, Cynthia Kanian, wanted to extend the lifespan, starting from a little worm known as C. elegans. So these worms live for 2 weeks. And then what she did is she asked if she could extend the lifespan of these worms when she introduced gene mutations. Shockingly, she did it. They were able to double the worm's maximum lifespan. Interestingly, this extension is both for lifespan and health span. Not only do these worms live twice as long, the 2 weeks old worms, which would have been dead, now appear useful and robust.
It's very hard to reverse human aging, although it's easy to reverse aging in some smaller animals. The important thing is that you can stop aging, as some mammals have managed to stop it. I think evolutionary humans will stop aging in maybe a few million years of natural evolution. And as technologists, we now have to use all the available biotechnology in order to stop aging right now. Not reverse, but to stop it.
Would you be okay with the government installing cameras in your homes? That sounds horrifying, but what if they said they were going to do it to reduce domestic violence, abuse, and other illegal activity? Well, this is something that the Cato Institute is actually studying. The reason they're studying this is because they see a correlation between people who are A-OK with central bank digital currency and people who don't mind this kind of government surveillance. Because the link they're making here is that these two things are not that far off, because a central bank digital currency would be able to track how much money you have, when you make that money, what you do with it, what you're allowed to spend it on, all of those things. But here's how the survey overall shakes out. Overall, 3/4 of people oppose government surveillance in their homes. Take a look at the chart. 14% are in favor of this. 10% say they don't know. When you parse this out by age group, look at how the data plays out. Young people are overwhelmingly more okay with cameras in their home than older people. Almost 30% of young adults between 18 and 29 say that they are okay in favor of government surveillance cameras in their homes. 20%, that's 1 in 5 of people between 30 and 44. When you break it down by party and race, these are just people who are in favor of it. More Democrats than Republican. Far more Black people are okay with this. And when they overlap this data, take a look, they show that people who are in favor of in-home surveillance cameras also support CBDC, as opposed to people who oppose it and also oppose CBDC. They found that more than half of those who support the United States adopting a CBDC are also supportive of government surveillance, suggesting there may be a common consideration that is prompted by both issues. They say likely it has to do with the willingness to give up privacy in hopes of greater security, or my take on it is that maybe it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how much power that CBDC will actually give the government.
Do you think human feces is of any use? What a bizarre question, you must be thinking. Now, you might find this repulsive, but would you ever eat it? What if your life depended on it? What if I told you that feces is not just toxic waste, but contains the secret to human health? First, answer this. Do you know about Clostridioides infections? The bacterial disease afflicts 500,000 people in the US each year. About 29,000 of them die. It basically generates toxins in infected individuals' bodies and ultimately destroys the lining of the gut. But now scientists have discovered a whole new way to fight this infection. It's called fecal microbiota transplant, or FMT. What is the procedure all about? Patients are given a fecal milkshake via a tube that passes through their nose to the stomach, or they take it in the form of a capsule. And what does this concoction do really? Well, it restores the metabolism of bile. It blocks the bacteria's growth and controls the infectious disease. Scientists also suspect that it carries out bioremediation. That is, the fecal microorganisms break down and eliminate the toxins present in a patient's gut. It is also being investigated in hundreds of trials around the world and has been successful to varying degrees. And these, by the way, include trials for inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, obesity, acute malnutrition, diabetes, arthritis, hepatic encephalopathy, liver transplants, skin cancer, autoimmune diseases, Alzheimer's, and other conditions.